So, my very, very good friend, Dr. Thomas Brewer, was gracious enough to honor me with this pleasure of being a guest speaker, so I thank you again. What he does is very unique. I will let him go into what he does and give us some longevity tips on how we can all, again, look like Robert. Okay? Welcome, Dr. Thomas Brewer.
All right, thanks. So we've hit the big time. Now we have a microphone.
We have.
I'm Dr. Thomas Brewer. I'm a PhD chemist, and I specialize in a technique known as nutritional blood microscopy. I'm not going to talk too much about nutritional blood microscopy. I'm going to talk about what I consider the most important longevity tips. So the first tip starts with how we're digesting, metabolizing, and eliminating what we eat. So no matter what we eat, if it's the most organic, healthy vegetable meal, if you're not digesting, metabolizing the nutrients, and eliminating the waste, that meal will putrefy and is toxic to the body. So that is the first step. If a person is not digesting proteins, their red blood cells will be stuck together due to undigested proteins getting into the blood. That is something that can be seen during a blood microscopy. The same is true with fats. If there's excess fats in the diet, including the keto type diets, if you're not metabolizing the fats, they take up a lot of space in the plasma of the blood, and you get steric hindrance against the movement of the red blood cells. So they look like little specks during a blood microscopy. So that's really where it starts, is not just what you eat, but how well you digest what you eat. The second area is the immune system. So our immune system begins at our skin. And there's also an area that is our mucous membranes, our thymus gland, but the last bastion of our immune system is the white blood cells. If a person could see what their white blood cells look like, they would know if their immune system is strong and active. So the size of the white blood cell,
What happened?
Lost. Oh, there we go. The size of the white blood cell is directly proportional to its strength, and the internal movement within the white blood cell is directly proportional to your immune system activity. When I look at someone's blood and they're over 80 years old and they were able to drive to the office, in every case, they have great white blood cells. And they didn't do anything to do it. It's genetic. So some people genetically have great white blood cells. If you don't, all you have to do is consume sprouts. You want to consume sprouts before a leaf forms. So there is an active ingredient that feeds the white blood cells. They're called glucosides. These glucosides are at a very high concentration when a sprout exists as a sprout and does not have any leaves. There is a product called Steromax. It's the only one like it in the country that's made from these sprouts. But you can also grow your own sprouts and eat them, and that will feed your white blood cells directly. So good, it reverses HIV. So this is very strong. The next area is the gut microbiome, which we're getting a lot of information in the news about the link between the gut and the brain. And basically, if we're consuming things like gluten, it enhances the ability of pathogens and parasitic bacteria migrating from the gut into our blood. I can see this under the microscope. People are usually freaked out when I say you have parasitic bacteria, look at that, look at that, look at that. But it's not that uncommon, and it's fairly easy to fix. Most people think that if you take probiotics, it kills the parasitic bacteria in your blood. How many people think that? Everyone knows it doesn't kill anything in your blood. What kills the parasites in your blood are your white blood cells. Now, the probiotics will kill the parasitic bacteria in your gut, in your microbiome, and that's a good place to start so that you decrease the transfer of new parasitic bacteria into your blood. If the white blood cells can keep up, you won't have parasites in your blood. The next big area, and it's really old-fashioned, in the old days, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, the whole area of longevity talked about antioxidants. And that's where it was, and it's still that way. But now we have telomere elongation, and we have all these biohacks. So a lot of people in this room are involved in some sort of a biohack. And in, let's say, 40 years ago, it was all about antioxidants, which still work great. So a little bit about that. Antioxidants prevent oxidation. They sacrifice themselves. They get oxidized, so something else does not. Well, it went again. That's okay. So the master antioxidant in the body is glutathione. I talked about this during a Friday Fit Tip. Well, the strongest antioxidant that we can put into our bodies is astaxanthin. And it is such a strong antioxidant, it will sacrifice itself so that cholesterol doesn't harden. So if there's an issue of cholesterol hardening to plaque, take astaxanthin. You can find it in red algae, right? So that is strong. Now, if you have plaque, that's different than stopping it from forming. You want to dissolve the existing plaque. You can take a high-quality plant enzyme without food. So this would be an enzyme that not only is activated in an acidic environment of the gut, but a slightly more alkaline environment, which is the blood, pH 7.3. And a good enzyme will dissolve the plaque while you sleep. So there's usually no great need for bypass surgeries if you catch these things early. And I did that with a few clients. One in particular was, I think he had 70 or 80% blockage. And he was about to go in for bypass surgery. And I noticed he had a lot of plaque in his blood, of course. And I gave him the enzymes to take at bedtime and the hard algae, which is astaxanthin, to stop new plaque from forming. Well, there was some sort of a delay and he couldn't go in for surgery. He had to wait 3 weeks. He goes in for surgery and they do a final test to see if they can justify the surgery. And instead of the 70% blockage, it was like 50 or 40%, which meant they could not justify the surgery. So the doctor asked him, "What did you do?" And he said, "I was taking these enzymes and this product. I don't know what they are, but someone told me to take these." And he says, "Well, stop doing that." Pathetic. Yeah. Okay, 2 more areas. And the first one is sleep. So sleep is something we must cherish and protect and constantly modify and learn. What does it take to have high quality sleep? We've had people in here talk about sleep apnea, right? Big thing, right? There are usually 2 problems with sleep. One is an issue falling asleep, and the other is staying asleep. So, and some people have both. Yeah. So falling asleep is 99% of the time, it's you, it's your head, it's your thoughts. There is a way to avoid that. This is not something on the internet. It is something I developed. All you need to do is procrastinate your thoughts till the next morning. So this is sort of like what we did in school when we'd have an exam the next day and we procrastinate studying until the night before. So everybody likes to procrastinate. It's human nature. So these thoughts come into your head at night because it's the perfect time to think about them, right? There's nobody else there. The phone isn't ringing. The TV's not on, hopefully. And you start thinking things, and you cure cancer before you go to bed. You're just working on issues and problems. If you tell yourself, I'm going to think about that tomorrow, I'm going to think about that tomorrow, it is magical how fast you fall asleep. It is so fast that what you'll do is it'll scare you and you'll start thinking of something because you really don't want to fall asleep if you just want to think about something. But if you procrastinate your thoughts, you will fall right to sleep. There's a double benefit. In the morning, when you told yourself that you're going to think about them in the morning, that will help you wake up in the morning. So you'll get a double benefit. You won't stay in bed. You'll be able to get out of bed. So that's the issue with falling asleep. Now, staying asleep typically is hormonal. Typically. For men, it's often an enlarged prostate. The best thing, guys, for an enlarged prostate is celery juice every morning on an empty stomach. It's better than anything out there. And there's numerous other benefits to drinking celery juice in the morning. So everyone should be doing this. You're drinking celery juice in the morning. And there's some great books on this, and you can find out all the reasons. But something really great is it will shrink the prostate, and you won't need medication. So it's absolutely great. But say for women that are getting up in the middle of the night, and even men, it's usually a hormonal imbalance. And it's tricky to balance the hormones. But I suggest Dr. Hannah for that. So you'll want to find someone that can really analyze your blood. And I don't mean under a microscope, not what I do, to analyze the analytes in the blood and determine what hormones are out of balance and an effective and natural way to balance them. It is tricky. Actually, we have another hormone expert here too, don't we? Yes. So, and then finally, one of my newsletter podcasts, I had used the topic, how to piss off your dentist. And I want to repeat it here. The first thing is stop wetting your toothbrush with water. Keep a bottle of hydrogen peroxide at the sink, wet your toothbrush with hydrogen peroxide, and then put your toothpaste on. It'll help kill excess bacteria in your mouth. That's step one. Step two, periodically brush your teeth with baking soda. You can do it as a pre-brush where you brush with baking soda and then your toothpaste, or you could just do it as a substitute for your toothpaste. But work in baking soda in your brushing routine. But the third technique, and the most important, is to buy some hydroxyapatite toothpaste. Hydroxyapatite toothpaste, okay? When I worked at a national laboratory in Washington State, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, I worked on a product called hydroxyapatite. If you've been to my office, you'll see a patent in the office. It's on that material. And when we were working on this, we knew that it could be consumed by people, and it was to help your bone and your teeth. I never thought it would be marketed. I never thought it would be commercialized, but it is. So there's a brand toothpaste. It's called Boca, I believe, Boka, and it has hydroxyapatite. Absolutely works. It'll put another layer on your teeth. Unless you have a really bad cavity, it's going to strengthen your teeth. And this is something you can buy online. I believe it's also on Amazon. We've familiar with Amazon?
What is that?
It's like YouTube. So anyway, those are the main areas I wanted to talk about. I did not want to take a lot of time because we have another speaker. But are there any quick questions? Yes.
Hydroxy appetite, is that something that you can consume or is it literally only you want to use it?
So the question is hydroxyapatite. Is that something you can consume? And no, it's something to apply somewhere, either to bone or teeth. Can you swallow the hydroxyapatite of toothpaste? Not recommended. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to be around. If you have questions, ask me.